In the hot seat is Kevin O'Leary, investor and venture capitalist, and you also may know him as Mr. Wonderful from the TV show Shark Tank. Kevin, let's get to your first viewer question.
Mr. Wonderful, Joe Davis, president of Stonebriar Wealth Management. It's a privilege and an honor to be in communication with such a ferocious shark. Major asset managers and even the Wall Street Journal recently have called on reducing beta by investing in alternatives in private markets. But my clients and I are only interested in one thing: how to make money. How are you rebalancing your portfolio between public and private markets, blue chip names versus crypto, as a potential recession looms, and why?
Yeah, that's a great question, because there's this concept of diversification beyond stocks and bonds into private, assets, and there is room for that. But I always warn people, when you're managing money for individuals that are over 70 years old, you start to think about liquidity. And in private deals, it's not uncommon to be illiquid for 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And so if that capital is required, or access to it, or they require liquidity, and they're tied up in some private equity deal that has no idea when it's going to be liquid, that's not a great thing. And so I try in my own portfolio, keep private equity to under 20%, but it tends to have big spikes, particularly if it's real estate oriented, because I do get involved in real estate. I do some commercial and single family and other things. And I'm always conscious when thinking about alternatives, how liquid is this asset? And what I really want to do is keep at least half the portfolio in liquid assets, because in life, poo-poo happens. And in business, poo-poo happens, and you never see it coming. That's why it's poo-poo. And it hits you. And if you don't have liquidity, it's really bad. And particularly if you use leverage in your model. So a lot of these strategies involve leverage you don't know about. You're investing in some private equity fund or a hedge fund. And every once in a while, and you're starting to see it now, particularly in crypto land, these strategies go to zero. And it's the same story. It's always leverage. So I'm far more cautious about private investments. And I do quite a few of them, but I'm always thinking to myself, okay, this goes sideways, this goes south. How do I protect my capital? And after you're 40, I tell everybody, performance is not the metric you should chase. Preservation is the metric you should chase. Preservation of capital is the hardest thing to do, and most people ignore it. And the only way to preserve capital is diversification, going back to, having multiple bets. But most people learn the lesson a horrible way. And I was one of them too. When I was a young buckaroo, a young trader, I killed myself with leverage. I killed myself shorting stuff, strategies that I never do today, because I remember the pain of the loss. I lost a lot of money when I didn't have any. That really sobers you up. I mean, experience is really powerful. It particularly in investing. If you make that same mistake again, you're an idiot. Like, that's the bottom line. So I don't short stocks anymore. I don't use leverage anymore. I'm really, really a boring investor.
At least at one point you had the fun.
I did.